my superstar panel, the Daily Express columnist Carole Malone, senior reporter at the newspaper Benjamin Butterworth, and the social commentator Esther Krakue. So Benjamin Butterworth, you are a public figure. Respect my sex if you want my ex. Want people like me to ask you a very simple question. Can a woman have a penis?
Oh, boy.
Well, do you know, I don't know why this is happening at the moment, because the only law that has been affected by such questions was introduced 18 years ago. Men have penises and women have vaginas, and there are some other people who will transition because that's how they're built, and that's the case in every country, in every culture, in every period of our history, not in the last year or two. That's a quite straightforward thing, but what's not straightforward is the comment you just made, which is that they're a threat to young girls.
When did I say that?
Dan? That was in your digest.
They can be, and
They are. Not just young
I'm
girls.
I'm going to
spread it.
the phrase you used at the end.
Women have been raped in prisons by trans prisoners.
Women are being raped in hospitals.
You want me to
by
give you the time
women.
and date? It's a fact. They have been raped in prison by trans prisoners.
First of all, I mean, you can count.
But Benjamin, you're actually misquoting me. I said that trans folk must not be discriminated against and should fully participate in society, but not at the cost of precious areas like women's sport and the protection of young girls. So don't misquote me.
And how are they a threat to the protection of young girls?
Well,
number one, I never used the word threat.
Can I answer that too, yeah?
I never used the word threat, but yes, you answer, Esther.
Well, sir, young women, not just young women, women in general are being raped in women's prisons by trans women that suddenly identify as women to enter womenens prisons. What was the name of the lady who was recently raped in the NHS hospital world by a trans woman?
Esther, do you think if I sat here and said that a black... Because, of course, that person has done is utterly repugnant. But if I sat here and said that a black person had done that and therefore you shouldn't have the same rights, would I be racist?
Well, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing, actually.
I'd
because
be racist.
No, that's not the same thing, because these are two completely different issues. Black people are not predisposed. Black people are not predisposed to commit crime.
You've just said trans people are predisposed
to commit
crime.
No, because trans women, so biological men that are taking advantage of this ridiculous system that people like you endorse to go into women's spaces and abuse them is completely different from black people or any person of any other race committing a crime.
Why are trans people predisposed to commit crime?
Because this is a loose structure that is allowing them to take advantage of a ridiculous system that makes you think...
That's pure bigotry.
Predisposed is the wrong word.
Well, you just said
what it does is...
No, I'm sorry,
You've said that they undermine young girls.
Yes,
which
because
is
there is
exactly,
evidence
frankly, Dan,
that
that's
they're
exactly
abusing
what would have been
women.
said about a man like you in the 1980s. As a gay person.
Benjamin, you actually misquoted me, which says a lot about the way that
you
the
said
left...
they undermine the safety of
No, you said that... you claimed that I said that trans women provide a threat to young girls. I didn't say that. So you are playing the culture war issue on this.
Can I just come in and say this? You know, we are where we are today with this, not with the trans movement, not because we are a progressive society. It's because we are... all of this came around by thoroughly anti-democratic means. The rights that are now around for some trans people came about through mobs, through threats, through bullying. Professor Catherine Stock, who was at university, was hounded out of a university by a mob armed with flares, masked mob, J.K. Rowling. She was hounded out of a job.
And what was changed because of that?
You've just
Sharon Davies.
Just let me answer your question. She was thrown out of a job she'd been in for 18 years because she was threatened by a mob with masks and flares because she dared to say you can't just become a woman if you decide to be one. There's orchestrated campaigns against women all over this land, women who dare to say the truth. You know,
there's no daring about it. There's no daring. All you ever hear is the view that you express, and you're well entitled to it. But the idea that you are brave by saying it is nonsense.
No, you're brave because if you say it, you get bullied and you get threatened and you get chucked out of your job.
Benjamin, the left have cancelled J.K. Rowling. The left have cancelled the left have cancelled J.K. Rowling. You surely cannot be sitting on this sofa and saying that women are not threatened if you tell them what to say.
That woman, had she not been as famous and as well known as she is, her career would have been over by now.
It's not over in the slightest.
No, but she has been damaged by this. You can't not accept.
She's been ostracised by Hollywood.
And she's been ostracised, yes, exactly.
Tell me, gang, if the trans lobby, as you call it, is so powerful
and misogynistic,
and the only voice you ever hear, tell me, name one transgender newspaper columnist Name one presenter. Name someone on this channel who's
What's that
transgender.
what's that got to do with anything?
Because your entire thing is that you are the victims and that these awful trans people are railing over you and you have no power. So name one trans person
well, I'll tell you what we'll do.
that has anything like the platform that you have. Just one.
Who is that lady on? Well, and I use the lady very loosely on Biden's White House
Can I just say something here? We're not here just to answer your specific question.
Well, no.
If you say women haven't been affected like this, back up.
I didn't say that.
Why do you think this movement has been started by these three women? Precisely
Why do you
because
think
women's voices are being drowned out just by people like you right now, when we're not allowed to say what we feel about the trans.
Why can no mainstream? Excuse me,
because you're not letting any of us speak.
Why can no mainstream politician define what a woman is? What is so endemic about this issue, this trans issue, that no mainstream politician can define what a woman is?
The definition that you're questioning, and clearly you're all entitled to question it. I'm not stopping you speaking at all.
We're not questioning anything. We're saying it's a fact.
That definition, what year was that written into law?
What do you mean? What, the definition of a woman is a biological, an adult
It is written into law.
The definition of a female is an adult female human with the excess chromosome. That's what the definition of a woman is.
Come on, you're all saying that there's this big threat to women in the definition right now.
Well, it is a threat to women.
What year was it changed?
Why do you think a movement...
You don't know what you're talking about.
Why do you not care about the women whose lives are actually
endangered by this? Your question.
It was 18 years ago.
The thing is, you're not actually listening to what we're saying. You're a bloke, you're not a woman. You don't know what is happening to women in this country right now. And their rights are being threatened.
So why does every poll say that most women don't?
He does know. He's just choosing to ignore it. Just like politicians lying about not knowing what a woman is.
All the YouGov polls. The YouGov polls there have been.
Tell me the YouGov poll you're talking about.
It was 2/3 of people said that they wouldn't be bothered.
When was that? I don't... You're just making that up as you go along. Yes, you are.
There have been multiple polls. You can go around and get them afterwards. I'll tweet it.
So this movement that has started, this backlash that has started in women's sport, this is all made up, is it? They're just all talking nonsense.
No, and let me be absolutely clear. The people in the trans woman that has committed a rape and maybe some other crimes, and by the way, you could count on your fingers the number of transgender people of any description in our prison system. Those people are evil and wrong and should be sectioned.
But they are given the opportunity to rape biological women by a system that is too scared to take on the trans movement.
Secondly,
that's the point.
I don't think you should base the rights of any group on the prisoners among them. I couldn't care less about people that do something so evil as to rape another person.
You couldn't
care less. And so to suggest that all the good people that are leading their lives as normally as they can who happen to be trans is wrong.
What we're saying,
Thirdly,
it is opportunist. It is the trans women in prisons, the ones who have raped people, it's an opportunist crime for them because the law of this land now allows them to mix with other women. That is not right.
You sound exactly like the people that wrote in tabloids in the 1980s that would find a handful of people who were supposedly gay and who were paedophiles, and they would say they're a threat to children. It is exactly the same argument.
Benjamin, if you were a father of a young... Benjamin, I've given you a lot of time. I've given you a lot of... I don't play identity politics like you, Benjamin.
Well, the identity
what I
politics
am
is
is absolutely irrelevant to this.
Stop
what
it.
I am,
50% suicide rate.
What I am defending is the right of parents to worry about their young girls not having safe spaces in changing rooms. I worry about young girls who want to play sport, and the figures that have just come out already show that a lot of young girls are walking away from sport because they think it's intrinsically unfair because of the prospect of trans competitors. And I am all for the rights of trans people living happily in society, but not at the cost of biological women. Not at the cost of biological
women's rights and their freedom to speak. And that's what's happening. We're not being allowed to speak against
In what way can't you speak? You've got a national newspaper column and on television.
And I write about it quite a lot.
And good, you're entitled to write about it, but you can't then claim you can't talk
Benjamin,
about
just to clarify your position, you believe in self-ID with no medical backup?
Self-ID has been the case for 18 years.
No, it's not law.
I'm asking about your position.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. It is in Scotland.
It's not here. It is, because in order to get the legal definition, you have to live as your identified gender for 2 years. That is self-ID, and that's been in the case for 18 years.
No, you need a lot more now to do it, and the push is to change the law, so you don't need that.
That doesn't go against my argument.
Secondly, Benjamin, do you believe in people who were competing as men as recently as a few weeks ago, being able to compete in female sporting events because they self-ID as a woman?
No. It should be taken on a basis by one basis, because someone that transitioned and started the process at 13 and hasn't evolved in the same way may well be...
hasn't evolved? It's still a biological
because they've had
man.
puberty blockers and all sorts, may well be equal to
You can't
the woman
undo
or
male
the flip.
puberty.
Yes, you can.
And the studies...
You can undo
You
puberty.
cannot.
show that.
You cannot. You cannot. Even if they reach the
don't know- you're
testosterone
wrong.
levels, they still have bigger muscle
right, I
mass.
see.
They still have bigger lungs. They still have bigger hands. They're still stronger. So you can't
That's
take
why
out
I
a
said it
lifetime
should
as
be
a
a
man.
case-by-case basis. And if it's
No.
completely inappropriate, they shouldn't compete.
Do you know
That's
what?
absolutely fine.
Okay.
That's called logic. You should try it.
There's not much logic
If you
from
can't-
you tonight,
if you can't
mate.
win with logic, you
Just
lose
a
with
quiet
insults.
start from my superstar panel, Carole Malone, Benjamin Butterworth and Esther Krakue, who will be here all evening.